Hello, everyone, and welcome to Last Take. I get the last take, motherfuckers. A More Hoops production. I'm your host, Evan Moore. And today we're going to have a little bit of a difficult conversation. Stephen A. today decided to inject race into a place where it wasn't really an issue and kind of tried to make it about that when it really wasn't about that to begin with. And this is frustrating. This is frustrating. As somebody who's personally a mixed race myself, you know, last name is Moore. My mother's last name is Vasquez, and I've lived this kind of being trapped between two worlds, you know, my whole life, and I'm really kind of sick of how everything gets made about race. And, especially when you educate yourself well enough, you start to realize that all these labels of race really are not, they're not, they're not a fair or complete way to categorize anyone to begin with. And they're really kind of false constructs in a lot of ways. And so it's just extra frustrating to me, and it's also extra frustrating considering the climate we got going on in America right now, the tensions we've got going, the fact that people are making the WNBA about race when it's still just about basketball. I mean, it's a frustrating thing. It's a very frustrating thing. So, I have quite a bit to say about this. Hopefully I can fit it all here into 10 minutes. But basically, what happened today was that Stephen A. he decided to make a big deal about the podcast again, and he said that he had talked to black coaches who are also upset about the timing of the podcast. And now I can, there's a part of me that can, definitely respect that, because I'm personally someone who I I believe that there needs to be more black coaches in the NBA. Representation absolutely fucking matters, and you know there there are not enough black coaches in the NBA. I mean, let's face facts. That is the truth. It's a predominantly you know black sport, and and as I say that, it gets me back to the whole frustration when I say that, like, we're using black, and look at just the diversity on the court. They're not all Americans to begin with, and like black means it can mean so many different things, and just like white, so many different ethnicities and cultures, and and culture is important, traditions are important, and this is frustrating when we are fighting over these things when they're made up in false constructs. And you know here I am, I'm getting off track a little bit here, but I mean, people are people, and race was not an issue here with the Darvin Ham thing. Bring myself back to my point. Darvin Ham hung himself. He had ample opportunity to right the ship, to change things. He gave enough grounds to be fired mid-season, well before that podcast came about. And not to mention the fact that D'Lo's podcast came out even before that, and you're not saying a goddamn word about that, Stephen A. And his was much more kind of taking jabs at Darvin than LeBron's pod has ever been. So, yeah, and all this speculation about JJ. That's, it's all been speculation. And, we've gotten nothing directly from Rob and Jeannie about, they're interested in JJ and this is a thing. I mean, you know, obviously we'll see, but like this is being blown way out of proportion. And to make it about race is really gross when there are real, obstacles and issues that these black coaches face. And you're gonna like minimize it about something about LeBron making a pod, and they're upset about. I mean, come on, man! Like there are way bigger issues that they got to deal with than LeBron making a pod. You know that, and that's a big problem here, man. Like, come on, man! Like you can do better than that, man. This is, you know, it's really frustrating that we have to turn this into a racial discussion. You know, I wish everybody could get a DNA test because I think a lot of you would be quite surprised at how mixed all of us are and how like false these constructs are, and it's not, the thing is it's not the race that it's important, it's the cultures and the traditions that are important. And you know I see a world where there are people that are, you know, learning to share these cultures and traditions and mend them, blend them together, as well as respect each other's cultures and traditions, but there's still all this pushback in this fight, because we have, unfortunately, people in our government who are trying to push one culture down our throat, which is wrong. And I think hopefully we can all agree on that come the ballot box. But not to sidetrack myself onto into a political discussion because it's enough. We're already talking about race here, but we should not be creating problems where there aren't problems already, because we already have enough problems where there are serious problems. So like starting these little fires over here is not helping anybody, Stephen. It's not helping anybody. And I understand you've obviously got this personal vendetta against Braun, and Braun plus Lakers equals ratings. We get it. But man, like this is getting really classless. And it's like I said, it's bad enough that all these WNBA conversations have devolved into race, and we can't talk about basketball. And all these fans that actually know the WNBA keep shouting about how that's the way the girls play. The girls play this game a lot rougher than the guys do, and like nobody's listening to them. And everybody's making these hard fouls about race and about hating somebody else, and it's fucking ridiculous, and it needs to stop. Because when you're saying those things, usually it's more a projection of yourself than it is probably of what's going on between those girls. I can almost guarantee you that. Because girls, excuse me, those women, man, this is just, you need to be better, Stephen. You need to be better. We all need to be better. This is 2024. And yeah, it's terrible that there are a lot of people that want to, tear us apart and divide us. But, there's a lot of us that do stick together and do the right thing. And, so Stephen A., just knock it off and don't create problems where there aren't any.